There is a version of you that you keep promising yourself you will become, not today, not right now, but soon, when things calm down, when you have more time, when you feel ready. And if you are honest, you have been saying that for a long time. But here is what most men never realize. They do not collapse all at once. They drift, slowly, quietly, almost invisibly. Nothing dramatic happens, no big failure, no moment where everything falls apart. Just small decisions, repeated every day. You wake up and you feel tired, so you listen to it. You avoid one difficult thing, then another. You tell yourself you will do it later, and later becomes a pattern, and that pattern becomes a man you do not recognize. Not because he failed, but because he never corrected direction. That is how most men lose control of their life, not through one mistake, through 1,000 small ones that felt harmless at the time. And the dangerous part is this: from the outside, everything can still look fine. You can have a job, you can pay your bills, you can function. But inside, you know. You know you are not operating at the level you could be. You know you are negotiating with yourself. You know something is off. This video is not about motivation. It is about recognition. Because once you see the pattern clearly, you cannot unsee it. And from that point forward, every decision becomes a choice. To keep drifting, or to take control back. After a while, something else starts to change. He stops deciding for himself, not all at once, but slowly he begins to look outward before he moves. He has an idea, and instead of acting on it, he talks about it. He tells a friend, then another. He watches their reaction. If they approve, he feels safe. If they hesitate, he pulls back. And without realizing it, he starts asking for permission to live his own life. It sounds reasonable on the surface. It sounds like being careful, like wanting to make the right decision. But underneath it, there is something else. He does not trust himself anymore, so he borrows certainty from other people, and that creates a new pattern. He waits. He waits for the right response, the right signal, the right level of approval. And while he is waiting, nothing moves. The idea stays where it started. The decision never becomes action. And over time, something deeper begins to break. Because every time he ignores his own instinct, he weakens it. Every time he delays his own decision, he teaches himself that his judgment is not enough. And eventually, he does not even notice it happening. He just feels stuck, confused, like he needs more information, more clarity, more reassurance. But the truth is simple. He is not lacking clarity. He is lacking ownership. Strong men do not always know the perfect move, but they move anyway. They decide internally, and they accept the outcome. Because they understand something most men avoid. You do not build confidence before action. You build it because of action. And the longer a man waits for permission, the further he drifts from himself. It usually starts in a place that feels harmless. The morning. The alarm goes off, and for a moment there is a decision to make. Get up or stay where it is comfortable. And most days, he chooses comfort. Not because he is weak in that moment, but because he listens to how he feels. Tired, unmotivated, not ready. So he negotiates. Just a few more minutes. But those minutes are not the problem. The decision is. Because in that moment, he is not just choosing rest, he is teaching himself something. That when discomfort shows up, he steps away from it. And that lesson does not stay in the bedroom. It follows him. Into his work, where he delays what matters. Into conversations, where he avoids what needs to be said. Into opportunities, where he hesitates instead of moving. Most men think their problem is lack of discipline. It is not. It is that they have trained themselves to obey their emotions. Every single day. Strong men feel the same things. They wake up tired. They feel resistance. They feel doubt. The difference is not how they feel. It is what they do next. They made a decision about who they are before the moment arrived, and when the moment comes, they do not renegotiate. They move, Because feelings are information, they are not instructions. The man who lives by his emotions will always be unstable. Good day, he moves. Bad day, he disappears. And over time, that inconsistency becomes his identity, not because he chose it directly, but because he allowed it to repeat. And this is where the drift begins to take shape, quietly, without announcement. At this point, something more subtle begins to happen. He still has standards. He still tells himself who he wants to be. He says he is going to train. He is going to focus. He is going to do things right. But now he negotiates. He misses a day. And instead of returning to the standard, he explains it. It was a long day. He needed rest. He will make up for it tomorrow. And tomorrow, something else comes up. Another reason, another exception. And little by little, the standard starts to move. Not all at once, just enough to feel justified. This is where most men lose control without noticing, because it does not feel like failure. It feels like being reasonable, like being flexible, like understanding your own limits. But there is a difference between intentional rest and quiet compromise. One is planned, the other is emotional, and emotional decisions always lower the bar. What makes this dangerous is that nothing breaks immediately. He still functions, he still shows up, but not at the level he once demanded from himself. And after enough repetitions, something shifts. The standard is no longer something he lives by. It becomes something he remembers, something he talks about, something he used to do. And now, his word to himself starts to lose weight. He says he will do something, and a part of him already knows he probably will not. That is the moment the drift becomes identity. Not because he chose to be that man, but because he stopped holding the line when it mattered. Strong men are not perfect. They miss days. They fail. They fall short. The difference is simple. They do not negotiate with the standard. They return to it, immediately, without drama, without excuses, because they understand one thing clearly. If your word to yourself means nothing, nothing else will hold. At some point, the drift stops being internal. It starts showing up in his relationships. There is something that needs to be said. A conversation he has been avoiding. Maybe someone crossed a line. Maybe something feels off. Maybe there is tension that has been sitting there for weeks, and he knows it. But he does not address it. He tells himself it is not worth the conflict, that it will pass, that maybe he is overthinking. So he stays quiet. And in that silence, something begins to build. Not peace. Pressure. Because avoidance does not remove the problem. It stores it. And stored pressure always finds a way out. Sometimes it comes out as frustration, sometimes as distance, sometimes as resentment that the other person cannot even understand. And now the situation is worse than it was at the beginning. Not because of what happened, but because of what was never addressed. Weak men confuse avoidance with control. They think staying quiet keeps things stable, but what it really does is slowly erode their position. Because people can feel it. They can feel when something is not being said. They can feel the hesitation, the lack of clarity, the lack of presence. And over time, respect starts to drop. Not loudly, quietly, just like everything else. Strong men do not chase conflict, but they do not run from it either. They speak clearly, not to win, not to dominate, but to stay aligned with themselves. Because the moment a man becomes afraid to say what needs to be said, he is no longer in control of his environment, he is reacting to it. And that is where the drift accelerates. Once a man starts drifting, he fills the space. Not with action, with consumption. It becomes the easiest way to pass time without feeling the weight of what he is avoiding. He wakes up and reaches for his phone, scrolls for a few minutes, then a few more. By the time he stops, the edge he had in the morning is gone, and the day has not even started. Later, when things feel heavy again, he does the same thing. Another video, another feed, another distraction. Something to keep his mind busy so he does not have to face what is not moving. And the dangerous part is that it feels harmless. He is not doing anything wrong. He is just watching, just relaxing, just taking a break. But those breaks start to define the day. Hours go in, nothing comes out. And over time, something starts to fade. His sense of direction. Because direction is built through action, through effort, through creating something that did not exist before. When a man stops producing, he starts losing connection to himself. He becomes a spectator in his own life, watching other people build, move, grow, while his own life stays where it is. And that creates a quiet frustration, a tension he cannot fully explain, because deep down he knows he is capable of more. But capability means nothing without output. Strong men are not immune to distraction. They feel the same pull. The difference is they control the ratio. They make sure something goes out before too much comes in. They build, they train, they work, even when it is not exciting, because they understand something simple. A life filled only with consumption will always feel empty, no matter how much you take in. After enough time drifting, something changes in how he sees his life. He starts explaining it. The job is the problem. The timing is off. The situation is difficult. Other people made things harder, and some of that might be true, but the pattern is what matters. Because every time he explains his position through something outside of him, he steps further away from control. Not loudly, quietly. He starts to believe that his life is happening to him, that he is reacting, adjusting, surviving, instead of building, and that belief changes everything. Because a man who sees himself as a product of his circumstances will always wait for things to improve, wait for the right moment, wait for something external to shift before he does, and that wait becomes permanent. What he does not realize is that there are men in worse situations who still move, and men in better situations who never do. The difference is not the conditions, it is ownership. Blame feels justified, it feels logical, it even feels intelligent, but it is expensive, because the moment you place the cause of your life outside of you, you place the solution there too. And now you are stuck, waiting for something you do not control. Strong men do not pretend life is fair. They do not ignore reality, but they refuse to give away authorship. They take ownership of what they can influence. Their actions, their effort, their standards, their direction. And from that position, movement becomes possible again. Because control was never completely gone, it was just handed away. At this stage, something else starts to disappear. Time. Not all at once, but in pieces. He becomes available to everything. A call comes in, he answers. Someone needs help. He says yes before thinking. A conversation stretches longer than it should. An hour turns into 2. And at the end of the day, the things that actually matter did not happen. Again, the work he said he would do, the progress he keeps postponing. The time he wanted for himself, gone. Not because he did not have time, because he did not protect it. And this is where the drift becomes visible. His days feel full, but nothing moves. He is busy, but not building. And that creates a quiet frustration, because deep down, he knows the truth. The time was there. It just went to things that did not deserve it. Weak men treat time like it will always be available, like they can give it away and recover it later. But time does not return. Once it is gone, it is gone. Strong men understand this. They do not try to control everything, but they control access. They decide where their time goes before the day begins. They say no, not because they are selfish, because they are serious. Because you cannot build anything meaningful if your time belongs to everyone else. And once a man starts losing control of his time, everything else follows. His discipline, his focus, his direction. It all begins to scatter, and the life he wanted keeps moving further away. Not because he could not reach it, because he never created the space to move toward it. By now there is a pattern behind him. Things he started, things he meant to finish, things that almost became something, but did not. Because when the beginning was exciting, he showed up. There was energy, momentum, a sense that something could change. But then came the middle, the part nobody talks about, the days where nothing feels new, where progress is slow, where effort is required but results are not visible yet, and that is where he stops. Not suddenly, gradually. He misses a day, then another. Then he tells himself he will get back to it later. But later does not come. Because the problem was never the plan. It was the moment things stopped feeling good. And this is where most men get it wrong. They think the loss of excitement means they chose wrong, that something else would feel better, be easier, be more aligned. So they move on to something new, and the cycle repeats. Another start, another drop, another unfinished path. And over time, this creates something dangerous, not failure, a lack of trust in himself. Because deep down, he knows he does not finish. And once a man believes that about himself, everything changes. He hesitates more. He commits less. He questions his own effort before he even begins. Strong men understand something most never accept. The middle is the work, not the beginning, not the idea, not the excitement. The middle. The part where nobody is watching, where nothing feels rewarding, where showing up is the only thing that matters. That is where everything meaningful is built. And the man who can stay there without applause, without momentum, without shortcuts, that man separates himself from almost everyone else. At some point, he cannot ignore it anymore. The pattern is too clear. The unfinished things, the lost time, the constant reset. And now something else shows up. Stagnation. He is not where he thought he would be. Not financially, not physically, not mentally. And the hardest part is this. He knows it is not a mystery. It is not bad luck. It is not a lack of information. It is the accumulation of everything he has been allowing, the compromises, the delays, the avoidance, the waiting. And for the first time, he sees it clearly, not as separate problems, as one pattern. And that moment is uncomfortable, because there is no one to blame, no situation to point at, no story that explains it away, just a simple truth. He has been drifting, and the cost is now visible. But this is where something important happens, because that same clarity that exposes the problem also creates a choice. He can keep going, keep explaining, keep delaying, keep telling himself he will fix it later, or he can stop. Not everything, just the pattern, right here, right now. No big announcement, no dramatic change, just one decision. To take something he has been avoiding and do it. Today. Even if it is small, even if it feels insignificant. Because action does something thinking never will. It breaks the pattern. And once the pattern is broken, even for a moment, something shifts. Control starts to come back. Not all at once, but enough to feel it. Enough to know it is still there. And that is all he needs. From that point on, everything becomes simpler, not easier. Simpler, because he stops trying to fix everything at once. He stops thinking in big changes, big plans, big transformations, and he focuses on one thing, the next decision. He understands that his life is not built in one moment, it is built in small choices, repeated daily. So he chooses differently. He gets up when he said he would. Even when he does not feel like it, he does what needs to be done. Without waiting for the right mood, he says what needs to be said. Without avoiding discomfort, he protects his time. He finishes what he starts. He stops explaining his life and starts building it. Quietly, And at first, nothing looks different. No one notices. There is no applause, no validation, no moment where everything suddenly feels right. But something is changing, internally. His word starts to mean something again. His actions begin to match his standards, and that creates a different kind of confidence. Not loud, not visible, but real. And over time, that man becomes recognizable, not because he talks about it, because he lives it, consistently, without negotiation, without needing to prove it. That is the difference. The weak man waits for a feeling. The strong man follows a decision, and the man being built in silence does not announce either one. He just moves, every day, in the direction he already chose. And eventually, the life he wanted is no longer something he thinks about. It is something he built, one decision at a time.